Sorry about that. Hello, everyone. Yes. Well, tonight I'm doing a Patricia Krenwinkel stream, obviously. And yeah, she's not as talked about as the rest of the Manson girls, even though she was actually one of the first Manson girls, probably because less is known about her. And she seems to have taken the longest time of the three convicted to completely renounce Charlie and show any remorse. Though there is a documentary about her on Amazon Prime where she clearly has now renounced Charlie and does show remorse. But it did take her a very, very long time. There's a letter from her right in the 80s still praising Charles Manson and that, isn't there? So long after Susan and Leslie had stopped supporting him. And she's thought to have been the most violent of the girls. And newspaper articles of her testimony reflect this. And I also believe she would have helped talk Leslie into going out on the second night. I don't know if Leslie would have gone out on the second night, basically, without her. And her trial testimony transcripts are missing from cielodrive.com. No one can find them. But there are actually a few newspaper articles that report some of her testimony. So that's what I'm going to be reading about tonight. That's it. And I'll make sure there's chapters if you're watching this on playback. But yeah, I'll just talk to the audience for a minute because it's a live stream. I'm going to put my candle on it. There's a rush to get started. Get that out of the way. Right, who's here then? I see a few new names as well. Hello. Yeah. Yeah, well, she had one sister, didn't she? Who apparently died. I haven't got a date for when her sister died, but her sister's supposed to have died of an overdose. Didn't she? Yeah, had no kids. Yeah. And, well, like I say, not a lot is known about her. And the only interviews with her, the first interview you see with her is she looks about 40. So it's like way after the murders. Like, there's interviews with Leslie around the time of her second and third trials and that, isn't there? And Susan gets interviewed in the 70s, but not Krenwinkel. So, yeah, there's really not a lot known about her. And I want to know why they don't want us to see what she said in the trial as well. Well, I'll get to it because there seems to be a point where Manson tries to shut her up as well. So I think there was something that she said that they don't want us knowing about. But there's, like I say, CI Drive shared one article, but I found more articles about her testimony and an incident that occurred while she was testifying. So, yeah, I'll talk about this. Yeah, her sister died, apparently. I don't know when, because she's moved in with her sister, and it was the sister she was living with when she met Manson and ran off with Manson. And so I don't know if it was, presumably it was after Patricia Krenwinkel had gone, so I don't think she was living, obviously she wouldn't have still been living with her sister if her sister had died of an OD, would she? Hello, Glasgow Dave. Yeah. Yeah, I did do the blood evidence show with Paulcast, didn't I? And well, they came on this channel for that, but I did go on there to talk about text one night, didn't I? Yeah, just when they were talking about text. Yeah, that was it. She's very, very well. She was one of the first Manson girls as well. This is what people have got to understand, because it was the first one was Mary Bruner. I've seen articles from the time saying they think Squeaky was the first one, but she wasn't. Mary Bruner was the first. Then he met Lynette Fromm. And then he meets Patricia Krenwinkel. So she was like the third one that he met. So before Susan even, he met Krenwinkel. So yeah, she was really, really into Charlie, obviously. One of the most loyal ones. Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to get into it because there's quite a lot to read out. Right. It's this, isn't it? No, actually, I was going to read this biography out first. I forgot to open it. Just give me a second. This was put together for me by Casey Fields from No Sense Makes Sense, the Facebook group. He's going to release a book eventually, I think. Right, yeah, and this is just basically what we know of her biography. 1947, December the 3rd. She was born in Los Angeles to Dorothy Huber, a homemaker, and Joseph Krenwinkel, an insurance salesman and truck driver. Joseph testified that his daughter was an exceedingly normal child and that she liked to play and could always entertain herself. She had a collection of stuffed animals, which she prized very highly. Krenwinkel and her 6.5-year-old sister, her 6.5-year-old sister, Charlene Ann Lowell, grew up in the suburb of Inglewood. Patricia's nickname was Katie, but she also went by the aliases Marnie Reeves, Big Patty, and Mary Ann Scott. 1962, the fall of Patricia Krenwinkel began her freshman year at Westchester High School in Los Angeles, California. In 1967, unknown what time of year, but she was 17 when her parents divorced. She originally moved with her mother to Mobile, Alabama, where she attended her junior year at nearby Theodore High School. And in the fall, Patricia Krenwinkel began her senior year at University High School in Los Angeles, California. In her diary, she described herself as overweight and suffering from an endocrine condition which caused excessive body hair. Sadly, she said she was the kind of girl men neglected at high school dances. And in 1966, on June the 17th, Patricia Krenwinkel graduates from University High School in Los Angeles, California. She returned to Mobile, Alabama to be with her mother, and she taught Sunday school, catechism, and considered life as a nun. The fall of 1966, Patricia Krenwinkel began her freshman year at Spring Hill College, a Jesuit institution in Mobile, Alabama. And unknown in 1966 time of year, before the end of her first semester, Patricia Krenwinkel dropped out of Spring Hill College. She returned to California to live in an apartment with her older half-sister, Charlene Lowell, in Manhattan Beach. Krenwinkel took a clerical job as a processing clerk. 1967, September the 8th. On or around this date, Charles Manson, Lynette Frome, and Mary Bruner went to a party in Manhattan Beach at the home of Billy Green, a friend from prison. Patricia Krenwinkel, a local 18-year-old, lived with her older half-sister, Charlene Lowell, lived in an apartment near Green. Bruner and Frome left to return home in the Volkswagen microbus, and Manson stayed another 4 days with Krenwinkel. She slept with him the first night they met, and he was the first person who told her she was beautiful. She liked Manson and didn't realize she was going to have to share him with other girls. September the 12th, 4 days later, Lynette Frome, Mary Bruner returned to pick up Charles Manson. That night, Patricia Krenwinkel quit her job as a process clerk for Insurance Company of North America. Krenwinkel allegedly left behind her final paycheck, abandoned her car at a gas station, and she asked to go with Manson and the girls, offering a Chevron credit card given to her by her father and a telephone credit card number. The crew drove north, with gas paid by her father, through Santa Barbara to their Cole Street apartment in San Francisco. Yeah, and from then on, that's, where the sequence of events starts happening. And then I was going to go straight to, excuse me, still got a chest thing. Right, yeah, and this is the article of her parents' testimony, and you can actually find the transcripts of this part, and these are her high school yearbook pictures. She looked very different, didn't she? Yeah. But yeah, this is the testimony of her parents. Parents' disbelief in killings. Los Angeles. The mother and father of convicted murderess Patricia Krenwinkel think of their daughter as a bluebird whose gentle nature made it impossible for them to believe she could have perpetrated such a crime as the Tate LaBianca killings. Mrs. Dorothy Krenwinkel, the divorced mother of the 23-year-old defendant, told the jury at the penalty phase of the trial that her daughter had always been a sentimental child, so soft-hearted that she was stricken with grief when a pet canary died. Mother's love. I did love her, said Mrs. Krenwinkel, her voice breaking. I still do love her, and I always will love her, and nobody can tell me she did anything horrible. The mother and her former husband, Joseph, an insurance agent in his 50s, were the first witnesses called by the defense in an attempt to persuade the jury not to send the 3 young women and Charles Manson to the gas chamber for the 7 murders. But even as her parents testified, Miss Krenwinkel whispered and giggled with her co-defendants, Susan Atkins and Leslie Van Houten, and appeared to pay no attention to their account of her childhood. Before they took the stand, she turned and mouthed across the courtroom the words, "It won't do me any good." The father, his face deeply lined and his voice husky, described his daughter as a completely normal girl with a prized collection of stuffed animals who sang in the church choir and was loved by everyone. A changed person. In the corridor, after testifying, Krenwinkel admitted to newspapers that his daughter had turned into a completely different personality after running away with Manson, and that she was still very much under his influence. The father identified on the witness stand his daughter's high school commencement program, a Father's Day card, a yearbook called The Paragon, a birth certificate, a baby picture, and another photo of Patricia, aged 5, in an Easter dress. There was also a diploma when she graduated from the Bluebirds and became a campfire girl. She sang in the church choir, he said, and once won a prize for memorizing a part of the Bible, which hung in her room for years. There was a letter she wrote him shortly after running off with Manson in September 1967, which read, "For the very first time in my life, I have found peace. I love you very much. Take care of yourself." Mrs. Krenwinkel, who now lives in Mobile, Alabama, said Patricia had always loved animals. Oh, so that's all right then. She always loved animals. Stabbed 2 women to death. But yeah, she cried when her pet canary died when she was a little girl. Yeah, that's it. Show her mum a picture of Abigail on the slab. Easy to Google. Like I say, we will get into it. There's another article that goes more into her trial testimony because you can't find the transcripts of her trial. And there was what they said on SeattleDrive.com. But there's further ones. Right. Yeah, so that's it. But it was a half sister as well. That's another thing. I didn't know that it was a half sister that she had. I thought it was a full sister. So what is that? It probably said, didn't it? Yeah, and I do know that sister died as well. I don't know when though. Yeah, that's it. She had a highly priced collection of stuffed animals. She was, yeah. Well, she was as good as a stuffed animal by the time she was on trial. Yeah, that's it. Terrible. Yeah. Sorry, just look at the chat for a sec before I move on. Go on, move. You don't want to move. Sod it. Right, yeah, no, I'll carry on reading. 1970. Sorry, someone knows. She died in 1970. So that's like, yeah, when she'd been arrested, isn't it? So, well. Yeah. She crumbled a bit. That's what the parents said. Yeah, she died when her pet canary died when she was a child. Yeah. Yeah. Was the fake grandson going to give, 10 Charlie into a stuffed animal? Apparently, the ashes he was giving people were dog ashes, though. They weren't actually Charlie's ashes because he gave some to artists who thought they put his ashes in paintings. And someone tried to get a tattoo with his ashes. I was thinking, how the hell would that work? Surely that would just give you an infection trying to have a tattoo with ashes. I don't know. But yeah, crazy. Oh no, Glasgow Dave's car won't start. Shit. Is it raining there as well? It's pissing it down on the Isle of Wight. Totally the other end of the country, innit? You've probably got snow and ice as well, haven't you? Terrible. Oh, Texas sent me an article as well. I'll look at that in a bit. I've got loads to read out so far, though. But yeah, I didn't know when her sister died. We couldn't pinpoint exactly when, but I had heard this. Right, but yeah, I'm going to carry on. Right, the prints at the Tate home match the Manson family. Right, Los Angeles. A fingerprint found on a French door in Sharon Tate's bedroom has been identified in testimony as that of Patricia Krenwinkel, one of 3 women on trial with the clan leader Charles M. Manson in the slaying of the actress and 6 others. A police expert also testified Thursday that a fingerprint on the front door of the Manson matched the right ring fingerprint of another Manson family member, Charles Tex Watson. Watson, indicted with the others, is fighting extradition from Texas. Manson, 35, and his 3 women co-defendants are charged with the murder and conspiracy in the August 69 slayings. Officer Jerome Bowen said he took fingerprints at Miss Tate's home the morning she was found slain, along with 4 visitors. Officer Harold Dolan said he compared the prints with those of the defendants, victims, and other persons known to have visited the house. Dolan said he had no doubt that the French door print matched Miss Krenwinkel's left little finger, and that of the front door print matched Watson's. Miss Krenwinkel's attorney, Paul Fitzgerald, asked Bowen how long such a fingerprint could last on a door. Bowen said it was difficult to tell, but possibly up to several months. Outside court, Fitzgerald said later, I think people are jumping to a conclusion when they feel the fingerprints indicate Patricia Krenwinkel or Charles Watson were present when a homicide was committed. They could have been there a year before. Right, so it's interesting her solicitor says that as well, as we'll hear later. Right, so they did find Patricia Krenwinkel's fingerprint on the French doors in Sharon's bedroom as well. So yeah, it's supposed to be Susan who went round the house gathering everyone up, isn't it? Someone was Krenwinkel in Sharon's bedroom. And the lawyer says as well, doesn't he? She could have been there before, and he might have known something as well, because he used a private detective that Ed Sanders was using, because Ed Sanders was writing a book about the case. I found something about that as well. It's all crazy. Yeah. Oh, what did hearing about her canary remind you of your budgie that died when you were 9? Oh well. Yeah, that's it. Can last years if undisturbed. And the lawyer said, yeah, she could have been there at any time. And there's always been, well, that's it. There's always been rumours that they'd all been to the house previously. That's it, as well. And that's what her lawyer said. But then a lawyer would say that anyway. That doesn't mean necessarily that he knew anything, does it? But and then now we get to the article, which is where they talk about the actual her trial testimony, what she says. And it's quite harsh. And I read in another article, because I found quite a few articles. I'm not reading out everything I found, but in one of the articles it said a juror had to be replaced because they had a heart attack after listening to Patricia Krenwinkel. So yeah, be warned. Consider this a warning before I read out the next bit. Will I marry you? Oh no, I won't. Yeah, that's harsh, wasn't it? I know, but no. Oh, just have a look at it. Yeah, that's it. She has stayed quiet, hasn't she? She hasn't been interviewed at all by anyone as well. I can't believe people haven't tried. I don't know if she refuses to be interviewed or people just don't interview her. And in that interview, I don't know if people listened to it, but when Brian Davis on TLB Radio interviewed Leslie's lawyer, the lawyer said that everyone liked Leslie, but no, people didn't have the same within the prison system. When they heard he was working with Leslie, they were saying, "Oh, that's great. Yeah, she's really nice." But people never felt the same about Krenwinkel, so she doesn't have as many fans like within the system as well. Yeah, that's it. Like I say, there was a documentary about her on Amazon Prime that you can watch. And yeah, that's what she does now. She trains dogs for disabled people, doesn't she? Service dogs, yeah. And that's the thing. Well, this is another thing as well. She's just had one postponed because she was appealing Gavin Newsom, the guy who turned her down last time or blocked her parole last time, because Leslie managed to get his decision overturned, and that was how she got released, wasn't it? So she's now going to get one later in the year. Slightly later. It was postponed for 6 months while this whatever she was doing to Gavin Newsom was decided. Yeah, she trains dogs to sell LSD. Deliver it. Yeah. Hoping for parole next to a kennel. Yeah. Oh, the weather's actually okay in Glasgow, is it? Oh, it's pissing it down here and windy. It's going to be windy tomorrow as well. Terrible. Yeah. Yeah, well, she'll be bloody in hiding, won't they? They'll never reveal where she's gone. But she'll presumably still be in the halfway house, won't she, though, for quite a while. Probably up to a couple of years before she'd be out living on her own, totally, innit? Yeah. Yeah, oh, it is a nightmare. I hate the rain more, I think, though. Yeah, it's just annoying when it's wet. I can bear it if it's windy. Because you're only walking between buildings normally, aren't you? So it's like, yeah, but when it's wet, it's horrible. Yeah. Sorry, yeah, I want to get on with reading this, so we're not here for too long. And this is the stuff where you hear about her trial testimony, and it does get pretty grim. She talks about stabbing Abigail, and it's like I say, she's just as cold and remorseless as Susan and Leslie were. It's quite chilling, and that. And like I say, apparently one of the jurors actually had a heart attack after her testimony and had to be replaced. Saying it right, yes. Patricia Krenwinkel bears California slayings. Patricia Krenwinkel, serene and soft-spoken, confessed in grisly detail that she had killed 2 persons in the Sharon Tate murders and carved war in the chest of one of them. The dark-haired, plain-looking defendant was unemotional as she testified Thursday that she chased the coffee heiress Abigail Folger across the lawn of actress Tate's mansion, and I stabbed her and I stabbed her and I kept stabbing her. The next night, she said, she stabbed the wife of wealthy market owner Lino LaBianca, later carving war in LaBianca's chest and leaving a fork stuck in his stomach. She said bearded Charles Manson, hippie-style clan leader, was not involved in any of the 7 killings in August 1969. The 23-year-old, her wavy brown hair hanging nearly to her waist, was the second woman defendant to confess on the stand during the penalty phase of the murder trial. Susan Atkins has admitted killing Miss Tate, and in an unrelated incident, a Malibu physician. Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, Susan admitted to killing a Malibu physician. I don't remember that. When was that? Both said Manson was not involved, and the 2 women, Manson and Leslie Van Houten, have been convicted of murder. The jury is hearing evidence to decide if they should be sentenced to death or life in prison. Miss Krenwinkel, describing her life with Manson's raving family, said she considered him perfection and the best lover she ever knew. When she told of the night when Miss Tate and 4 visitors were slain in the mansion on a hilltop, she said that she, Miss Atkins, Charles Tex Watson, and Linda Kasabian, who testified for the state, dropped acid together before going on a drive. None told her where they were going, she said, and she had no intent to kill. Her memory, she said, was blurred because the group was stoned on LSD, but she remembered violence and the chase of Miss Folger, 26. I had a knife in my hand, and she ran out the back door. I chased her through the door, onto the lawn, and I stabbed her, and I kept stabbing her, and I looked up, and there was blackness, and that was all. What did you feel after you stabbed her? She was asked. Nothing, it was just there, like it was right. What did you feel as you left? I guess complete paranoia. Her memories, she said, are of reaction. It's a picture of emotion and reaction. I can't remember details. There was some man I was tying up, and I can remember looking up, and Sadie was fighting with 2 women. I remember I just got up and went over, and I was fighting. Sadie is the nickname of Miss Atkins. Miss Krenwinkel is known as Katie. The next day, she said she and Miss Van Houten were tripping on LSD, and that night they went on another drive, ending at the home of Mr. and Mrs. LaBianca. Miss Krenwinkel said Miss Kasabian and Watson went in first, then came out. Miss Krenwinkel went in with Watson and Miss Van Houten and found the LaBiancas tied up on a sofa. The couple pleaded for their lives and said, offering anything for mercy. But when you're on acid and someone tells you don't do something, you don't hear the don't. She said Mrs. LaBianca took her and Miss Van Houten into a bedroom and then grabbed for a lamp. I ran out to the kitchen and grabbed a whole bunch of utensils out of the drawer. I came back in and had a knife in my hand. Leslie had put a pillowcase on her head. She began grabbing overhead for the lamp, and that's when I started stabbing her. I walked out of the room. I had the kitchen utensils in my hand. I remember flashing on a strange thing, little pictures of children. A man was on the floor, and I remember thinking, you won't be sending your son to war, and I guess I put war on the man's chest. I picked up the fork, and I put it in his stomach. She said she dipped a towel in blood on LaBianca's stomach and scrawled words on the walls. Evidence in the troll showed the words were death to pigs, rise, and helter skelter. But she said she didn't recall them or their significance. Miss Krenwinkel's homely face lit up with a bright smile as she spoke of her love for Manson. He's the man that made me feel like a woman. Physical, yes, but in all ways. She said she had sexual intercourse with Manson 4 or 5 times in 2 years, and I've never been made love to so good in my life as from Charlie. Her attorney said, did Manson have any connection with you in the homicides you're on trial for? The answer, none whatsoever. So there. She said something there about what she was thinking when she carved war into his chest. She was thinking, you won't be sending your son to war. That was what made her want to carve war into him. Yes, so she did admit during the penalty phase that it was her that left the fork in his stomach and she carved war into him. Yeah. No, that's it. Who else has heard about the doctor? Because I read all through the penalty phase. I didn't read out everything she says in the penalty phase, but I read out big chunks of it, and I do not recall hearing her say she killed a Malibu physician. There's not in court. She's supposed to have confessed to Ronnie Howard about shooting a man while she was having sex with him or something, isn't she? But that wasn't something that she said in court, was it? Yeah, I never heard her confess to killing a Malibu physician. Who the hell was that? Because they can't have just mistaken what Gary Hinman was, could they? Could they have just got, because he was just a musician, wasn't he? Could they have got Gary Hinman's profession mixed up, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, that's it. As well, he only had sex with her 4 or 5 times. So that's it. She obviously wasn't his favourite. And she obviously loved him right from the first moment, sort of thing. Yeah, and in that whole time, he only slept with her 4 or 5 times. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, because that article says Susan Atkins confessed to killing a Malibu physician, as well as the Sharon Tate. Not Krenwinkel confessed to killing the physician. Atkins did. So it's like, when did she do that? Because I don't remember reading that when I read through what she said in the penalty phase. I'll have to look again now. Or they might have just got Gary Hinman's profession mixed up and said he was a Malibu physician when actually he was a musician, wasn't he? Yeah. But yeah, so that's like, so she did admit to killing Folger as well, chasing Folger and stabbing her. Oh. What was the next article I had? Oh yes, and this is the crazy bit. Yeah, we'll get straight onto this. And during her testimony, this happened as well. Like, Manson makes a point on who's the leader. Los Angeles. With one gesture, Charles Manson demonstrated his power over the 3 young women convicted with him of the 7th La Bianca murders. While Patricia Krenwinkel was on the stand during Friday's session of the penalty phase of the trial, Manson suddenly raised his left arm and pointed his index finger straight upwards towards the ceiling. Miss Krenwinkel, 23, stared at him, halting her testimony. Then slowly she raised her left arm and index finger in the same gesture. Susan Atkins and Leslie Van Houten followed Manson's lead. For 35 minutes until Superior Court Judge Charles H. Older called a recess, Manson kept his arm extended. The girls copied him, occasionally lowering their arms when the strain became too much. During her testimony, Miss Krenwinkel was asked by Manson's attorney, Irving Kanarak, if there was some reason she felt no remorse for the slayings. I am satisfied with myself, she said. I am willing to face my own death because of that night, the nights of the murders. It was my fault. I killed myself. I know that everything that was done was done. To kill someone is to kill yourself. We are all one. We all run on the same thoughts, God's thoughts. Kanarak asked her why she thought she used her knife on Miss Folger. I don't understand what reason is. Everything is done because it is done. I don't know the why, who, wherefore, or reason for anything. It just was. Asked about having taken LSD more than 100 times, Miss Krenwinkel said, I have taken so much acid that I am acid. I've never come down. It opens you up to what you are, and then you are that. Miss Van Houten followed Miss Krenwinkel to the stand, and she also was expected to confess her part in the murders, while trying to clear Manson. However, she never got to that point in her testimony before the trial was recessed for the weekend. And just to explain to you what they was doing there, look. You see, this is Sandy, and that's Lynette Frome, and I don't know who this other woman is. She's named, I'm not, Susan Murphy. But yeah, that's a Charles Manson salute thing that all the Manson girls did. Right. And it says here, no, it's on the next. Oh, this is it. Yeah, this one tells you what it actually means. Sandra Goodleft and Susan Murphy gave their usual greeting sign as they arrived today at the federal building in Sacramento for a court appearance. Good says the sign means one thought, one blue sky, and one world at peace. And there's more pictures of them doing it as well. Like. So yeah. So yeah, that was the thing that the Manson girls used to do. But I want to know exactly what she was saying when Manson did that. Why did he do it at that point? Because it obviously disrupted the trial and stopped them talking, didn't it? But yeah, just in case you wonder why they did that. But yeah, for 35 minutes as well. Shenanigans. So Charlie went like that, and they all just went like that and stopped talking for 35 minutes and held it, and occasionally putting their arms down when their arms hurt too much. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Well, what have they been doing with those fingers? Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I wonder if he was trying to shut her up. And that's it. And I think the next article I might save for a later stream. Because there's also the other stuff I found was poetry that she wrote that was published in a book called Pros and Cons. So on Thursday's stream, I might go into that, read out the poem she wrote. One of them is quite obviously about Manson, and there's a couple of drawings that she did as well. And just an article generally discussing why they think the girls might have done it from what they knew at the time. And there's some interesting things that Sandy and Lynette said outside the court. But yeah, I might read that out later because we've only been going half an hour, so yeah. Yeah, that's it. It all helped sell the stupid helter-skelter narrative, didn't it? All that shit they did. It didn't help Charlie. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. And the girls outside, it just made it look even worse. Made it look even more like it was a cult and that he had control over them, didn't it? It was so stupid of them. It didn't help. I don't know. And that's it. And Manson initiated that as well. He started that himself. So it's like, what? How did he think that was going to help him? It's ridiculous. And why did his lawyer allow him to do all this shit? You know, I mean, what can they do to stop him, I suppose? But yeah. That's it. I don't know who Susan Murphy is. I've not heard of her. But she was going into court with Sandy, wasn't she? So must have done something with Sandy. Let's look at her, yeah. Does anyone in the audience know who Susan Murphy is? Because, yeah, she was a new one to me. Yeah, that was it. That's another thing. They didn't like the peace sign, so they held up one finger instead of two, yeah. Yeah, that's it. Who is Susan Murphy? I don't know. Mike sent me that picture. I should have asked him who she was. But, yeah, they were obviously dressed in the same robes and that, so she's presumably a Manson supporter, yeah. And I know she went to prison for writing death threats to people that owned big oil companies and shit like that or whatever, big polluting companies or whatever, yeah. That's it. One of the late joiners. He joined once he was in prison and all that, yeah. Yeah. That's it, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already, yeah. There we go. God, which way do I go? That way there. Charles Manson compels you. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet. Yeah, that's it. I think she came after the murders. But she must have got involved with something with Sandy for them to have been seen going into court together like that, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that's it. If he had just put on a peaceful hippie act, yeah, and not encouraged the girls to do all that, it would have helped his case a great deal more, wouldn't it? Yeah, there were people that joined after they got arrested as well. Yeah, I've got to find out exactly what Sandy was even in court for. And on that particular day. Who she was. Yeah. Yeah. We should have our own communal hand gesture. Yeah, so they made their own one. So yeah, I think, yeah, that Susan Murphy was just one that I've heard the name somewhere. Don't know where. Yeah, these two are the only ones that have. Really, aren't they? Yeah. Susan still apparently sent him Christmas cards, didn't she? I heard. Oh, I've seen a Christmas card that was sent to Charlie from her from the 80s, yeah. Yeah, this is it. This is the other thing. I wonder, why did he do that as well? Why did he do everything to bolster it? Because it didn't help him in the end. But I think he wanted people to think he was crazy so that people wouldn't fear him telling the truth and kill him in prison. Because if he acted crazy and like a crazy hippie cult leader, then people wouldn't believe anything he said. So I think it was an act to prevent himself being killed because of what he knew, basically. He managed to convince people that he was crazy so that no one would actually listen to what he said. So it didn't even matter if he told the truth because no one would listen to what he said. Do you know what I mean? That's what I think he was doing. Yeah, I will read out this other one because this is interesting. It's not specifically about Krenwinkel, but it's about the girls in general, and it talks a bit about the antics in court. And how sad it is the girls still acted so loyal to him, even though he used them as, like, the woman calls them cannon fodder. And it's true how he used them, isn't it? Why did 3 girls sneak out in the night and knife strangers? The question remains why. Why did 3 fairly ordinary middle-class American girls sneak out in the night and knife to death total strangers? Why is it that they show no regret, no guilt, and shed no tears? Why do they still idolize Charles Manson after he used them as cannon fodder at the trial and brought them to the threshold of the gas chamber? The sensational murder trial is almost over. Manson and 3 of his women, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten, have been convicted of murdering Sharon Tate and 6 other persons. All that remains is the sentence. It was a fantastic trial. The President of the United States got involved. A gargantuan-sized defense attorney vanquished the tiny Manson. Vanished. Oh yeah, a gargantuan-sized defense attorney vanished. The tiny Manson leapt over a table, clutching a yellow lead pencil, trying to get at the judge. And one of the original Flying Tiger pilots. But nothing was more fantastic than the behaviour of the 3 girls. They sat with their heads together, their long dark hair flowing down their backs like a trio of witches. They giggled, they chanted, they made faces at Charlie. And then when they got on the witness stand and said, yes, we murdered, so what? Before the trial started long ago, last June 15th, the prosecutor was talking about its significance. Deputy District Attorney Vincent Bugliosi is the prototype of the clean-cut, all-American establishment adult. Bugliosi said he viewed the murders as ominous portents of the extremism to which the revolt of young people against authority can lead when it is mixed with drugs, parental failure, and criminal associates. The district attorney got out a photograph of the runty, shaggy Manson and shook his head. What I can't understand is the hold this man has over these girls, he said. The fact is that Manson not only had and has such a grip on the three girls on the trial, but just as unwavering slavishness from a dozen other young women who have camped out on the street corner outside the court for months. The jury got a chilling insight into the wild fervour of those still free when Catherine Gillies, 21, got on the stand and talked about how she felt about murder. I am willing to kill to get a brother out of jail, she said. We all are. I would have killed if I got along the night of the Tate murders. Out of the millions of words that came out from witnesses at the trial, there was no answer to the why. A psychiatrist, one of the country's leading authorities on the effect of LSD, said the defendants' consumption of acid, literally hundreds of times, changed their personalities. But he said it was not the answer to cold-blooded slaughter, and that he had never read of a case of murder being ascribed to the use of LSD. Another doctor said all three were suffering from mental illness, particularly Patricia Krenwinkel, but said none of them was insane. What? And that all could differentiate between right and wrong and understand the nature and consequences of their actions. Manson is easier to understand. There is a hatred boiling inside him that festered during the 23 of his 36 years he has spent in jails, and every once in a while it suddenly erupts to the surface. He has the cunning of a jailhouse lawyer and the instinct of survival, which brought him to let the girls confess while he remains silent. He hates the establishment, but the girls, for the most part, are from the establishment. A woman reporter at the trial was commenting on patterns in the background, not only of Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten, but of all the other females, Snake, Gypsy, Weish, and all the others in the weird coven. All are white. Most of them Anglo-Saxon. They are articulate, although many dropped out of school in junior high. Almost all of them came from broken homes in which their parents were constantly fighting. Defense lawyer Paul Fitzgerald says, in his opinion, that they have a father hang-up. He says that they felt rejected by their own father and found a father image in Manson, mixed with a sexual attraction, and were gratified by his exhortation that nothing was wrong. The defendants all insisted that Manson was not their leader, but one incredible incident in the trial demonstrated how false their protestations were. Patricia Krenwinkel was on the witness stand when Manson, sitting at the counsel table, suddenly extended his left arm straight in the air and pointed the index finger upwards. He kept his arm stationary in the air for more than half an hour. Miss Krenwinkel looked at him and slowly she raised her left arm and finger as if she was powerless to resist. Also seated at the counsel table, Susan Atkins and Leslie Van Houten raised their arms like robots and sat in the position, though occasionally they had to lower their arms momentarily when the strain became too much. They all share the trait of becoming evasive when the question is brought up whether they feel any sorrow for what they did. The jury was obviously flabbergasted by the responses they gave when Bugliosi questioned them about that. He had this exchange with Miss Krenwinkel. Have you any remorse for the murders? I don't even know what that means. Do you have any sorrow? No. You still feel it was right? Uh-huh. Susan Atkins testified she killed Sharon Tate and felt no compassion for her. I didn't relate to Sharon Tate as being anything but a still mannequin. She sounded like an IBM machine. She kept begging and pleading and begging and pleading, and I got sick of listening to it, so I stabbed her. Leslie Van Houten told psychiatrists, I didn't feel any hatred for that woman, Mrs. Rosemary LaBianca. A shark doesn't feel any hatred when it kills a fish. It was like I was an animal. Sandra Good, 26, a petite blonde, said Manson attracted people because he was the happiest, always singing and making love. She said he once disciplined her. Once he yelled at me and pulled me by the hair, and I sure deserved it, she said. We were in the bus, and they were all making love, and I felt all frigid, and I got very mad, and I took a hatchet and went out in my nightgown and attacked a woodpile. Then I looked up, and Charlie and the others were looking out the windows of the bus and laughing at me. When Charlie came out and picked me up by the hair and put me down, and then did it again, he carried me towards the swimming pool and asked if I wanted to cool off, and then I laughed and he hugged me. Lynette From, 21, the very first female to join Manson's family 5 years ago, said that Charlie was in love with love, and I'm in love with love, so I'm in love with Charlie. All of us are. When we would go into the bathroom to comb his hair, and we would follow him and watch him make faces at himself in the mirror. It's hard to conceive a man being that much of a child and yet being that much of a man. The girls, to a large extent, ignored the advice of their attorneys, and Manson went even further. At one point, he began pummeling Irving Kanarak in the chest to try and make the lawyer shut up. Manson did take the witness stand once outside the presence of the jury, and he went into a rambling philosophical discourse which included his own thoughts on why the girls followed him. These children that come at you with knives are your children. You taught them. I didn't teach them. I just tried to help them stand up. Most of the people at the ranch that you did not want, people that were alongside the road, their parents had kicked them out, so I did the best I could, and I took them on my garbage dump, and I told them this, that in love there is no wrong. So yeah, I'm pretty sure as well that Sandy or Squeaky talks about that incident in her book with Sandy, where he dragged her around by the hair and that. But that's crazy, but that just sounds exactly like something that a battered woman says, doesn't it? You know, he disciplined me once and I deserved it. It's like, yeah. So yeah, it makes some interesting points. Like, is that enough though? I don't think just to say they all had daddy issues is enough. But that was basically the conclusion they seemed to come to, wasn't it? Rebellion and drugs and daddy issues. Oh, Brian Wilson's wife. And they're trying to put Brian Wilson in a conservatorship nowadays as well. Fuck. Yeah, well, that's another thing they talk about at the end, isn't it? Yeah. So, him pulling faces. And they talk about them all pulling faces at him in court as well. That's it. Sounds like a cult, and they make it sound like a cult, don't they? That's the thing, and that's like, I think they all made some kind of bloody deal to just sell this story, and so they've done it, and so that they don't get, quizzed too hard about what they know. So everyone goes, oh, they're just crazy. Don't listen to them, sort of thing. I think they all pulled that. Yeah, the daddy issues do tend to lead to rebellion and drugs. But yeah, in a local dive bar. But this is a bit fucking extreme for that, isn't it? I think there's a bit more to it than that. It's the type of people they chose to hang out with as well. Yeah, you already have mummy issues here, but that's worse. That's the same for men, isn't it? That's the yeah. Yeah, well, this is what I've always said. You're working through that Manson was not opposed to going back to prison. Well, if you read the Spahn Ranch Raid report, I did a stream on it, and I read out all the stuff that he said when they were interviewing him. He told them he was on probation and all that. I think he was scared of the kids. He had no control over them, really, and he really did just want to go back to prison. But he couldn't hand himself in and hand them in, because then he'd be a snitch, wouldn't he? So he just had to wait for them to nick him. Yeah, that's it. And they mimic Charlie's faces. Or did they have to mimic Charlie's faces, or did they just do it? That's the thing as well. Then I saw Leslie read that they went out and she used to have to read the Bible to him while he was in the bath every day. He'd have a bath every day and she'd go and read the Bible to him. Looking strange. Yeah, that's it. You agree he just wanted to get sent back to prison by that point? I think a lot of people do. That's it. He knew he was going back to prison, so he puffed himself up. Yeah, got ready. That's it. Right, they had a daily ritual of mimicking Charlie's faces. Because he goes through a load of fake. There is pictures of him in court after they've all shaved their heads, isn't there? Going through a fucking weird sequence of faces. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry it's dry. After all that reading now. Cool, 56 people watching there. Thanks for showing up, everyone. And I hope that's been interesting for you, because that's what I've got to read out tonight. And this coming Thursday, I'm going to do a more general chat stream. But I'm going to look at some of the poetry she wrote and her pictures. She drew some pictures that are in this book as well. Nothing not remarkable. It's just something about Krenwinkel, isn't it? And I'll find the letter as well, because I've seen this letter doing the rounds in the group. It's got like a unicorn or something drawn on it as well. There's a fancy drawing on it. But it's a letter where she's still praising Manson, and it's from about 1987. So she was still, long after the others had stopped. She still was into Manson. Yeah, well, that was it. When he was being released, he said he didn't want to be released. He said he'd rather stay in. They said, well, you got to go. That's it. But apparently a lot of men say that just before they're leaving prison. They all say that, apparently. And in them days, they didn't do anything to reintroduce them to society, did they? Like they are nowadays with Leslie. Because Charles Manson had been in prison for about fucking 6 years or something, hadn't he? He should have had, efforts to reintroduce him into society and secure him accommodation when he got out of prison and that. But they didn't do all that in the 60s, did they? So this happened. Well done. The criminal justice system. That's it, yeah. Society just totally freaked him out. He just couldn't handle it, could he? Yeah, society freaks me out. Yeah, it freaks everyone out, doesn't it? And like I say, yeah, it freaks everyone. Yeah, and so he was just trying to. And also, he knew no other way to survive but crime, did he? And he made connections while he was in prison, so he was probably still working for the mob the whole time, wasn't he? Do you know what I mean? That was all he knew how to do. Because he never appears to have gone and tried to get a normal job or anything, does he? Really? Right, like that. That's all these fucking probation officers. None of them ever tried to set him up with employment or anything like that, did they? Yeah, well, that's it. The 1950s, because it changed a lot in the time that he was in prison, didn't it? Yeah, so it would have been a very dramatic change. Yeah, society and everyone's parents. Yeah, that's it. Well, it would have been a shock, to anyone, wouldn't it, to see how different things that were. But there had been beatniks as well before hippies, so it wasn't that shocking, And I think he had been involved with beatniks, and so he did know the beat stuff, So yeah, and he'd spent time down in Mexico and that, hadn't he? Like I say, you want to read the Manson file? It's like the whole story of his life. That's it. But if you're in America, it was hard to get, wasn't it? Wait for the American edition to come out so you can get it easily. It actually gets bloody really delivered. Yeah, that's it. He talks like a beat, doesn't he? Yeah, that was what he really was. Yeah, that's it. Everyone had been able to come and go as they please. At the ranch as well. It's not true, but I think by the very end, when they had run to Barker Ranch, he was actually giving orders to kill people that tried to run off. But for the rest of the time, they weren't forced to stay, like people think they were. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's shocking to people. Yeah, today something similar has happened. I don't think it's quite as severe though. But yeah, I think a lot of people are shocked by it, aren't they? But they were people that was quite naive before. When it has happened gradually, it's not as quite as a shocking a change. It seemed to happen overnight, didn't it? In the 60s. And a lot of people didn't fucking go with it, did they? Like, well, in the UK, a lot of girls that got pregnant in the 60s were forced to put their babies up for adoption and sent off to Catholic birthing homes and shit like that. You know what I mean? So it didn't catch on. People still remain conservative even in the 60s, didn't they? It didn't catch on with everyone. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. He sounds crazy, to people that have never heard beatniks talking. Yeah, that's it. People don't get it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, oh god. Men can be girls. But now you can identify as a fucking dolphin or a cat or whatever, can't you? Or the moon or whatever, yeah. There's people identifying as all sorts, aren't they? Yeah. Yeah, well, this is where that Krishna Venter guy, that's where Bugliosi stole the idea for the Helter Skelter narrative and Charlie as a cult. It's all actually taken from Krishna Venter, isn't it? not Charlie. Charlie never really did any of that. Bugliosi just made that up. Because apparently they did go to the ranch that was Krishna Venta's, but the cross wasn't there by then. So Charlie couldn't have put himself up on the cross at that ranch. Though they do claim they saw him on a cross at one point, don't they? So fucking, but that must have been somewhere else. Because Krishna Venta's cross wasn't there at the time that they were there. Yeah. 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 Yeah, does James even know what a furry is? Should we tell him what a furry is? He's freaked out by the transgenders. My God. Yeah, that's it. But he was a few years before, wasn't he? And Bugliosi used his bloody narrative. But Charlie did also say he was Jesus and the devil a lot, didn't he, as well? So they can't deny that. And there's articles with Dennis Wilson talking about a guy who called himself Jesus and the devil, isn't there? And all that. So, like, he was definitely saying that sort of shit. But I think, yeah, them being like a cult like that. And Bugliosi took a lot of the Krishna Venta story and put it onto Charlie, didn't he? And it was sort of manufactured. Yeah, oh, and the other thing I was going to mention as well, of course, wasn't it, was I'll probably talk about this more on the general chat thing, because I found the court documents. It's from actually Ed Sanders, got taken to court by the Process Church in the UK, in the High Courts of the UK. This all was heard, and it was a bit of a crazy case, obviously. And they called Paul Fitzgerald, Krenwinkel's lawyer, and a private detective that worked for Fitzgerald and Ed Sanders during the trial. And they testify in this trial, which is the Process Church suing Ed Sanders, basically. But frustratingly, they don't ever really say what Paul Fitzgerald's interest in the private detective's findings were. Though he does say he wasn't interested in the Process Church findings. So, like, yeah, so it's like he wasn't employing the private detective to find out stuff about the Process Church connection. But he never says what he was looking for. So it doesn't really tell us much, but it does confirm that there was private detectives investigating. And I've heard that he was getting the private detective to investigate Sebring's drug dealing connections. That was what he was interested in. And that was why I said it's interesting that the lawyer said she could have been there before when they found the fingerprint. And this private detective that was working for Ed Sanders. And there's this thing about, the article that the Process Church published while Charlie was in prison. The lawyer testifies that they'd asked him if he could help smuggle it out of prison, but he said he couldn't. And the private detective was helping to get this article that Charlie wrote out of prison that the Process Church published. So there's stuff about that. But yeah, so if people are interested in that, I could do a stream about that if you're interested. But yeah, basically they sued him, and he had to remove that chapter from his book, didn't he? And people take that as evidence that there was something about the Process Church, but no, it's only evidence that they sued him and won. Basically, that's what these court documents say. They proved that, yeah, there's no link between the Process Church, and it was libelous for them to say it. And that's why that chapter's been removed. And I'm guessing that he got away with it. Mary Terry got away with it in the 80s because the Process Church wasn't so powerful by then, you know what I mean? It had sort of disbanded a lot, and they didn't have the money to take him to court and sue him. But he was basically just rehashing what Ed Sanders said by the sound of things from these court documents. But yeah, that was another thing that's connected to Patricia Krenwinkel, because her lawyer had a private detective. And I've heard, though he never says it in court, I've heard that the reason he wanted the private detective was to find out about other stuff that was going on at CLO Drive. And it sounds like he knew something about Krenwinkel having been there before. And he's dead now, so there's no... I found out, yeah, so there's no chance that we'd ever find out from him. He's not going to make a deathbed confession that he knew something. Video of the testimony. What testimony? Do you mean the Process Church? There's not a video of it. There's the trial transcript is on archive.org. I can show you that. But that is, yeah, like I say, there's no video of it. And like I say, it was all I could hear. One of the things I found. Because, yeah, I found all this at bloody 4 a.m. in the morning. I just had the impulse to type her name into archive.org, Krenwinkel. And of course, the first thing that comes up is a million, like encyclopedias of murderers with her name. But as I kept scrolling, I started to find these newspaper articles, and I found, there was all these newspaper articles about her trial. And that, yeah. But yeah, that's so I'll talk about that more if people are interested. Yeah, because I didn't have all that set up. I rushed back to get here, and we've been going an hour now. But yeah, I can talk about that on Thursday if people are interested in that. Obviously. Yes. Wait a sec. Well, I'm going to end this in a second, and I'll do the after show. And when I do the after show, I'll put the link to it in the chat. You should be able to click it because I'm a moderator if I put it in the link. In fact, no, sorry, I'll do it before I end the stream. Just give me a second. Chat amongst yourself. Hello, Mike. Yeah, you've missed it. I showed those pictures though that you gave me. So yeah, Mike. Yeah, thank Mike for those pictures of the hand finger. And who is Susan? Yeah, do you know who Susan Murphy is? No one knows who bloody Susan Murphy is. The woman that's in the photo with Sandy. Tell people who she is while I find this link. I want to find a book by Chaplain Ray as well called God's Prison Gang. And there's a book about Lynette called Squeaky as well. I found that, I haven't read yet. Right. Oh, wait a sec. Let me take it right back to the beginning. Copying. You probably have all my bookmarks in it as well. Ugly link. But if you click that should take you to it. That's the transcript of the Process Church court case against Ed Sanders. And they call Patricia Krenwinkel's lawyer and the private detective who worked for both Ed Sanders and Patricia Krenwinkel's lawyer to testify. And I've already bookmarked all the bits where they talk. They're in there, yeah. All right. Here's what. Susan Murphy got arrested along with Sandy for sending threatening conspiracy letters to government officials. So, yeah. I thought it would be something about that. I did say something like that, didn't I? Yeah. Yeah. Right, yeah, now this has been going an hour, hasn't it? So, yeah, I'll end this now, and I'll come back and do an after show. We have 52 people here, though. That's a huge audience. Thanks for coming, everyone. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, like I say, I can't believe I found all these. Well, it was seeing that magazine, because the first newspaper article I saw had been shared by CLODrive.com. And so I started to look for more. And like I say, I just found tons of them on archive.org. So I'll keep doing that, yeah, because there's all the newspaper articles from the time are on archive.org. I didn't realise that they actually had newspapers on there as well, but they do. Yeah. Oh, thanks, yeah. But anyway, yeah, I'll end this and I'll come back. What do you think? Oh, yeah, that's Susan. Is supposed to have said that to what's her name? Not Ronnie Howard, the other one, Virginia Graham, in prison when she was confessing shit to Virginia Graham. She's supposed to have talked about having sex with someone who shot himself, or she shot him, or as he was ejaculating, or whatever. Oh God! And then in the middle of that article, it suddenly says Susan confessed to killing Sharon Tate and, in another incident, a Malibu physician. And I said, what is the Malibu physician then? Yeah, because I don't remember I confessing to that, because I read all of the penalty phase of Susan. I think maybe they got Gary Hinman mixed up with someone else and said the wrong profession they meant. A musician, Gary Hinman. Maybe, is all I can think of. It must be a mistake, yeah. That is weird. Yeah. Well, there's Zero as well. He shot himself, didn't he? But no, she's talking about, there's a story, isn't there? Susan told Virginia Graham a story that a guy shot himself while she was having sex with him, or while she was having sex with him, she shot him at the point of orgasm or something. But yeah, but that's not Zero, is it? That wasn't Zero that Susan was talking about when she said that. It was just a shocking story that she told the women in prison, wasn't it? But yeah, but there was another member of the Manson family called Zero who shot himself, yeah. And I've done a stream about his death as well, because his death was weird. And Bruce was there for that as well. And so, yeah. A weird one, yeah. Yeah, Mary Terry, yeah, I think he got obsessed with it, didn't he? And in the end, I think he just made up stuff to suit his own narrative, didn't he? And there's that guy, Manny, I don't really get his surname wrong. But Manny, who does the debunking Mary Terry, and he does it so well, and he knows the Son of Sam case really well. So I think he lives locally to the area where it happened as well. And he was really pissed off when he realised how much Mary Terry had lied when he got hold of the real documents. Sort of like how I got pissed off when I saw the real police reports compared to how it's got. Yeah, so it was sort of similar, but with different cases. Yeah. So look up his channel. I'll find out his actual bloody name so I get his surname right. But yes, people know him though. But he's that's it. I'm sure it is Grossman, isn't it? He is. I didn't want to get it wrong. It's Manny Grossman, isn't it? Yeah, I'm sure. And that is what his channel's called, isn't it? But that's his whole thing, is he's debunking Mary Terry, and he talks about the truth about the Son of Sam murders. Yeah, he is really good. That's why I haven't bothered to talk too much about the Process Church stuff, because Manny's already really, really thoroughly debunked it, and Nicholas has gone on his channel and talked about it with him, because Mary Terry had a theory there was 2 Charles Mansons or some bollocks, didn't he? Yeah, and they've debunked that basically. Yeah. That's it. No, Zero wasn't having sex. He was in bed with a girl, but he wasn't having sex when he did it. No, don't know if he had just had sex with her though. They didn't say. Yeah. And Susan was probably just making up shit as well, just to freak out women in prison or to sound hard to the women in prison or whatever, weren't she? Who knows if that's true? And Virginia Graham also admitted later that she made stuff up. So Virginia Graham might have even made that up. That might have come from Virginia Graham's imagination. Who knows? Yeah. 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 Heck of a price for an orgasm. This is it. Yeah, but that is something she's meant to have said to Virginia Graham, isn't it? I don't think she ever said that in court or anything like that. And Virginia Graham later admitted that she exaggerated stuff that Susan said. Just makes it up. So maybe Virginia Graham even made that up. Who knows if that's even true? Yeah. Anyway, yes, I'll end this one and give me 5 minutes, and I'll come back and do an after show. Because it's 1:08 here now. Yeah, thanks for coming, so many of you anyway. And like I say, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, I'll have this up and edited by tomorrow afternoon. And I'll do chapters in it and everything. Yes, thanks for coming, everyone. And yeah, I'll see you Thursday, if you're not hanging around for the after stream. But if you are, I'll see you in 5 minutes. See you in a bit.